And you want to shut it down. You
No,
keep
no,
talking
no.
about
The
it.
last time, Chuck, you shut it down.
No.
And then you opened
20
it up very
times.
quickly. And
20
I don't
times.
want to do what you did.
20
But,
times you
Chuck,
have called for, I will shut down the government if I don't get my wool. None of us have said.
You want to know something?
You've said
Okay,
it.
you want to put that on
You've
my...
said it.
I'll take it.
Okay, good.
You know what I'll say? Yes. If we don't get what we want, one way or the other, whether it's through you, through a military, through anything you want to call, I will shut down the government.
Okay.
Hi, this is a public announcement being brought to you by the Butterman. Yeah. So, I remember we have these debates about what's better, socialism or capitalism. I think it's pretty standard in college to have a debate over socialism versus capitalism. And where I land in the debate, as a Christian, right, I believe if you understand the articles of faith and the principles of Jesus Christ, the right brand is of government and governance is more toward the lines of socialism. Now, the United States of America is not pure capitalism. It's not purely socialistic. It's kind of a hybrid of socialism and capitalism. Now, this being said, in the debate, right, when a part of the socialism debate and the capitalism debate, what's embedded in there is how much government we should have. And I know the Republicans traditionally want less governments. They want less government. They want less interference, right? Whereas us, people like me who are more socialistic, we want more government, larger government. And why is that? And I was having a debate with a high school classmate of mine, and his theme was you shouldn't count on the government. You should rely on yourself and all this. And I do rely on myself for things that I know I'm fully capable of, right? But there are so many issues and concerns. And a perfect example is the border, right? You don't rely on each individual person to go down and secure the border. No, you want your government to do that. And for us, we have different levels of government. We have city government, state government, and federal government. And I think a lot of us who are more socialistic and probably more left, lean more to the left than the right, you can call them Democrats if you want, a lot of them want their government to do a lot of things for them on their behalf. Another thing, charity. As a Christian, I'm a big fan. Charity belongs in the church. But if you've seen recent events, it turns out the church is not doing the majority of the charity. In fact, the church hasn't been number one in charity for a long time. Let's just be honest. The top charity mostly comes from, right, federal government, which we're just now finding out. Those you didn't know, you just found out. Federal government's doing a lot of charity. State governments and city governments. But outside of that, billionaires, philanthropists. These billionaires pour tons of money into charity. But my pastor used to say charity belongs to the church. The people of God, that's their job. And I'm in agreement with that. I'd like to see the church get back to being number one in charity. I think part of the challenge is the billionaires have all the money. There's a lot of people with charitable hearts, but they don't have charitable pockets, right? Right? And so they concede to the people who have the money, right? And then it's like, what charities should you support? I remember years ago when I was young. I was by young, I was probably about 23. I was 23 years old. And I remember I gave to Feed the Children. I mean, they put those TV shows, run those commercials of those African kids in Africa starving and all that. And I think Bill Clinton was president at the time. And we found out that how charities work, right? So outside of the church, outside of the government, outside of Elon Musk, You have actually you have these businesses that are charities. You have people who make money off of charities, right? A lot of these charities you see, that's their business. That's how they make their bread. They're really capitalizing off of other people's misery when you look at it from a capitalistic standpoint. So we found out that people, although we gave all that money, a lot of the food and stuff never made it to the people who was intended for. In fact, the best that Feed the Children could do was drop the food and supplies off at the beach, and then the drug lords and whatnot would come and grab it before the people could get it. Right? And we found out that like the CEO made a lot of money, rode around, the CEO of the charity paid himself a huge fee for being charitable and rode around in a limousine. Right? And a lot of your charities work that way. But that's a little off topic. This is a public announcement, right? And so my point here is where I was going with this size of government, and those of us who are more socialistic want government to do things for us. And securing the border is one example. But another example, and I personally am one, the government that we had, I felt wasn't doing enough. I wanted them to do more, right? But, they're supposed to make sure foreign entities aren't poisoning your food. Right? They're supposed to, the FDA is supposed to be going around inspecting, making sure that this food is processed and handled in a proper way. They're supposed to, there's a government agency that's supposed to make sure the food is grown properly. There's a government agency going around supposed to inspect these restaurants, making sure that the food is clean, right? That the restaurants are clean in their handling of the food properly, right? The restaurant is clean, not the food. The restaurant is clean. We have concerns as Americans that maybe somebody's feeding us something that we think is beef but isn't beef, or feeding us something that we think is chicken isn't chicken. And I think it's the job of the federal government to investigate these restaurants to make sure that what they say is chicken and what they say is beef is beef. That's just me. Now, somebody might say, well, the feds shouldn't do it, the state should do it. And somebody might say the state shouldn't do it, the city should do it. Somebody might say, hey, we're not going to put it on the feds or the state or the city, you do it. Well, there's so many things like that, those type of things where we as human beings have concerns, right? That no one person can look out like that. You can't check all those boxes, if you will, right? You can't do all that. That's why we need federal oversight. Now, there's a public announcement about this. If you had any concern before about what your government was or was not doing for you, let me tell you right now, if it was bad then, it's definitely worse now. Right? The EPA. EPA's job is to go make sure this corporation isn't polluting the water you drink. You can cancel all of that, people. Cancel all that. Right now, it's every man for himself. If I were you, I wouldn't eat at any restaurant. I would cook all my own food. We as a people, if you want to look out for yourself and you want to ensure things are healthy, they've been saying there are preppers or whatever. There are people that have been saying this for a long time. Well, now it's on steroids. It's on steroids. You need to grow your own food. You need to raise your own cattle, right? You need to buy your own land. You need to have oversight over your own land. You need to test your own water, right? And many of us lack the means to do such a thing, right? All of us can desire to do it, but we lack the means. We need to organize, form groups, and collectively go out and buy and purchase stuff. Now, with this government shutdown, right, they go and they lay off all the people and they shut down everything. There's a lot of oversight that the government has. I mean, a whole lot. One of the things I was thinking about, the government, one of the things I was thinking about, because I researched this in the past, because I wanted to get into crowdsourcing, using crowdsourcing to raise funds for various initiatives. So we as a people, think about this. And when I say as a people, I'm not just talking about black people. I'm talking about all peoples, all groups, right? Any collective that you build, right? Um, I researched crowdsourcing, using crowdsourcing as a source of financing business initiatives, right? And the federal government puts a limit on how much money you can raise, right? Like if you wanted to build a super train, you're not going to be able to crowdsource enough money to build a super train. Well, with the vanishing government oversight, those doors are probably opening up now. And so this is something that you probably could do. You could probably crowdsource, do funding through crowdsourcing to open up restaurants, to open up farms, to create businesses. Don't let the billionaires are sitting on a pile of cash. The billionaires are sitting on a pile of cash, waiting, they want to destroy government oversight so they can come in and build distribution centers, build factories and stuff that you work in, build distribution centers that you work in, so they could employ you to serve for them. But now this is an opportunity for us to work collectively, right? Pull our money together and start our own farms, start our own businesses, start our own distribution centers. Okay, that's it from the Butterman.